everyone. It's Chris from Fellowship of Christian Athletes on the Central Coast. I hope you guys are enjoying your Tuesday, as I know a lot of schools are starting their online school and getting things prepped and ready for this quarantine and what we're doing. As you know, FCA's mission is to see the world impacted by Jesus Christ through the influence of coaches and athletes. Today, I have the great honor of having Emily here, and I'm going to let Emily share a little bit about herself. So, Emily, if you could introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm Emily. I am a sophomore at Cal Poly, and I play on the tennis team there. I'm a kinesiology major, and um, a little bit about myself back home is I have an older brother who's 23 and an older sister who's 24. I grew up in the church with parents who have loved the Lord since college, and my family is a huge sports fanatic family. We love watching sports, we love playing sports. Big Notre Dame fan, Minnesota Vikings fan. And for myself, I love hanging out with friends. I love going outside and kind of going on hikes and just being outdoors really is so this being inside is a bit of a new kind of life for me, but we're adjusting.
Yeah. Now, your two siblings, are they at home with you now as well, or are they where they live?
Yeah, so my brother lives at home. He's currently a junior, or he's finishing up his third or fourth year at Masters University
Okay.
from home. And my sister got married last summer, so she is living in Glendale with her husband.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
So this might be one of the last opportunities for your parents to have at least two of the three kids
yeah,
in the same home. So I'm
yeah,
sure they're loving it for at least a few more days.
yeah,
Well, that's great. So
yeah.
how are you being, wanting to love being outside, love hiking, love playing tennis? How are you surviving this time?
Yeah, well, I think I've been able to go on some runs and walks with my dog and around my neighborhood. So haven't been completely indoors, but I think just a lot of TV shows, movies, FaceTiming friends. I think that's kept my sanity a little bit. And my family's had some family game nights. So
Nice.
yeah, I think everyone's just kind of doing their part to keep everyone else sane in the house. So
Nice. So our listeners really want to know who wins those family game
yeah.
nights.
Well, it depends on what games it is, but I think most of the time it's me. I think
Okay,
I'm
there you
just the
go.
most competitive in my house.
Yeah, humble brag. We got this. All right. That's great. That's great. Yeah, I am the same at my house. My wife detests that I win. I actually taught my
Yeah.
daughter, Rainey, she's 10, how to play Settlers of Catan over
Oh,
the phone.
yes, we
She
have
loves
that.
it. So it's cool because it's kind of a complicated game, especially for a 10-year-old,
Yeah,
and she picked it up pretty quick.
that
So
is impressive. Yeah.
we're excited to do that and play games.
Yeah.
I
It
know,
takes a could take a few hours.
right? Yeah, yeah. It depends on how people are playing. So it's awesome. Well, thanks
Yeah.
for sharing a little bit about your family.
Yeah.
Tell us, growing up, what kind of sports did you play? I know you're a college tennis player, but did you play any other
Yeah.
sports? How was that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I grew up doing pretty much everything. I think my parents kind of just put my siblings and I in a bunch of things to see what we liked best. So
Yeah.
played soccer for about a year. I really didn't like running, so that was short-lived. I played softball. Actually, I picked up softball when I was around like 5, and actually played that for a good 6, 7 years,
Okay.
which overlapped with tennis.
Hmm.
I picked up tennis when I was about 7. Both my parents played, so
Okay.
they put my siblings and I in like a summer camp,
Hmm.
and we all loved it, and just started playing from there. I started taking lessons with a coach who is actually still my coach today. Um, and around 11 or 12, I'd say, is when I quit softball to just play tennis.
Okay.
But I just liked that it was a bit more independent.
Yeah.
And it was just me out there. I didn't really have to rely on other people. So yeah, and then again, I loved my coach, so he's helped me a lot. Um, so it was like, oh, I think I'm just gonna stick with tennis.
That's great. So you've had the same coach for 10 years or so?
Yeah, yeah, since I started, yeah.
Wow.
So I added one coach this past summer, and
Yeah.
then of course I have my college coaches,
Mhm.
which have been super helpful. But yeah, overall, just for the last 12, 13 years now, I've been taking lessons from the same coach.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
said you really like the independence part of it. You know, it kind of
Hmm.
weighs on your shoulders whether you win or lose.
Yeah.
Is it what other aspects of tennis do you like that have drawn you to the sport?
I think just I mean, in general, like I love competition, so you're
Mhm.
always dealing with that on the court. It's a bit ironically, it's I'm not the best mentally, or I haven't been, so it's kind of funny that I picked the sport that's probably the most mental. My coaches in college laugh about it now, but yeah, and then I think just once I got like college scholarship and kind of knew that that's what I wanted to do. Now being in college, I mean, I absolutely love my team, so
Yeah.
um, it's sweet because it's an individual sport, but in college you really feel that kind of connection and
Mhm.
team atmosphere. And I think I'm lucky to have a whole team and a whole set of coaches that like love one another, and just there's not really any drama. We just kind of go with the
Yeah.
flow, which has been a huge blessing.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Now, I want to give you an opportunity to brag because I think that, that everybody needs that moment once. What's been your greatest highlight in the sport of tennis?
Um, I think just, like, when I got offered a college scholarship, I think
Mhm.
it just kinda got to the point where I was like, "Alright, like, all this work is finally paying off."
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I went to Oaks Christian, which is a private Christian school, and the main reason my parents let me go there was they thought, like, it'd be worth it, for me to be there, and then most of my college would probably be paid for. So that was kind of their way of letting me experience almost like a Christian environment while I knew in college I probably wasn't going to get that just by the school itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got in contact with Cal Poly and just kind of got to know Kat, who's our head coach. And she offered me a scholarship. It was like, all right, this is pretty cool.
Yep. I'm in.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's great. Now, when did you realize that you were actually good at this sport of tennis?
Um, I mean, I think I probably realized that like I had a chance to do what I'm doing around like middle school age, just because I missed a lot of church and Bible studies like for tennis.
Hmm.
Um, and at that point, I mean, my parents have been great my whole life, have been really supportive and loved me through it. But I think like a lot of my friends or Bible study leaders would talk about it or ask me about it. And I think that's when it was like, oh, like I can actually like do something with this. This isn't
Hmm.
just like yeah, I'm doing it for fun, but I can like make more out of it. So I think that's kind of when I realized. I also started going to like a training center down in Carson for a few years.
Okay.
Um, so I never thought that would happen either. So I think
Yeah.
just when all that was starting to happen, it was like, okay, like I think I can something can come out of this.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, we always like to ask, what about the lowest point in your career? You know, we've all had those ups and those downs. Those high moments are great, but those low moments are so formative. So, what was
Yeah.
your lowest moment in your career?
I think I think it was actually this past like fall. Like maybe or it was more like the end of summer. I
Mm.
think I hit kind of a wall of if even if I wanted to do this.
Mm.
Um, the year my freshman year, again, I love my coaches, but they worked us a lot. So I think I was just emotionally and physically drained. And after being home for a summer and getting to be with my with my Christian friends back home, kind of like the community that I grew up with. and just seeing how much fun I had and just the joy that they brought me. I was like, like I could probably have this, um, and not be playing tennis. It was like I
Mhm.
knew that I could probably go to master's university and be just fine and not really miss the sport just
Mhm.
because I was kind of over it. And I didn't really know what to do because it's kind of a conflict of interest with playing the sport, getting a scholarship, going to college. It's just a lot of factors in that. And I talked to a few leaders about it back home, and they both had similar answers. But I went into school, or when I went in September, I the first 2 weeks were just like extremely miserable. I was just like on the court and like didn't want to be there. Just like every drill we did, it was like near tears because I was like, I could not be here. And
Yeah.
so I kind of was just waiting it out, and then thought in my head like, all right, if I really don't want to do this, like maybe I'll make a decision by December, or worst case scenario, I'll make a decision by the end of this year, like if I even want to do this. So kind of gotten to that point where I was like I'm tired of missing out on a lot of things that like my whole life I missed out on a lot of things because of tennis. And it was
Mhm.
like why am I still doing this? Like I have a choice and I could change that. So I think that was definitely
Mm.
my low point.
Yeah. Now, how's the Lord brought you through that? What have you been taught?
Yeah, I think I mean for one of my best friends back home who I told this to had said like if he wants you to be there, he like you have to ask to just find joy and have just like make it clear that that's where he wants you to be. And if that's not where he wants you to be, he's going to provide a way for you to just be in college, and he's going to provide exactly what you need and where you need to be. And so I think when I realized that, it was like, all right, Lord, like if you want me to be here, like help me not to be miserable, like help me to enjoy my time here.
Yeah.
And if you want me to be somewhere else, like make that clear to me, because I just couldn't sit in the limbo period where it was like I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I think I just realized too that it's like I kind of was just trying to figure it out on my own, and not ask for help like from the Lord. I just kind of
Mm.
thought it was gonna come. Um, but yeah, I just realized that like I needed to take initiative with my own faith as well. And just through that, he really opened my eyes and my heart to the fact that like, no, like Cal Poly is where I'm supposed to be. And
Mm.
I like really can't explain how he did it, but like it was just like one day I went to practice and it was like, all right, like I kind of want to be here. Like I love my teammates and like I want to be here with them and I want to do this. And I'm very thankful for that because it really turned, I mean, especially my fall season, like I I had a really great fall season as far as success, but like I know that comes hand in hand with how like just how much joy and how much fun I'm having on the court. If I
Yeah.
don't have that, like there's no way I'm gonna have success in general. And if even if I do, like it's not fun, like it's not worth it anyways.
Yeah.
So he really just opened my eyes, yeah, to that I was trying to do everything on my own. That's not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, what a great lesson to learn, right? The dependence upon
Yeah.
the Lord, and humbling yourself to the point of like saying, "Hey, I need God's help. Like I need to
Yeah.
hear from him." And just because it's hard doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but Lord,
Mhm.
what is your will for me in this time? So that's a great opportunity, and that's awesome that the Lord spoke to you, and gave you clarity on that. Now,
Yeah.
you've spoken a couple of times on sacrifice and how a collegiate athlete, or in preparation to become a collegiate or professional athlete, we make constant sacrifices. You're gone
Mhm.
weekends, tournaments, you're missing dances or, events, birthday party, like all the things that our friends are doing for fun. Um, we're missing because of this commitment to sport, because of practice or training
Mhm.
or matches. So In looking at that from a spiritual state, how did that affect your relationship with Jesus?
I think, yeah, definitely, it definitely at first, like, didn't really have an impact. I think, um, again, I think I just thought it was kind of the normal. Like,
Mhm,
my friends and my leaders were really understanding of it, and I mean, during the week, I'd still see my Bible study and see my friends. So, I wasn't completely like isolated away from them. And I think it helped too that like my parents were really supportive of it. So it wasn't like I was getting any backlash from anyone. It was more like myself dealing with that. But I think as time went on, I realized like as I got older in high school, I kind of got to the point too where I was I'm kind of tired of missing a lot of events or just hangouts with friends because of tennis. And um, I definitely hit a point where I wasn't playing as many tournaments. I wasn't playing as much, and that was kind of my own decision. I think my parents would have said otherwise, what they wanted, but um, I think it just took a time of that to realize that everyone's in different states of life. Everyone has their own kind of walk of life, and um, I mean, now being in college and talking to friends from back home who kind of saw me grow up and saw me go through this, to them, it's like, wow, like they'll say like Emily, like, Emily's at college, she plays, Division 1 tennis, like all this. And it's like for me for a while it was like, is that worth it? And now it's like so many people look at that and kind of wish they had that, and wish they did
mhm,
more things in college as far as just like whether it's sports. I know people who, are like, "Oh, I miss sports and I don't play it in college or I only play club." And it's like now I'm thankful that like I kept that up and I just see the way that the Lord kind of worked in my life to work this all out, and it's
mhm,
like I wouldn't have it any other way. And it's like if all that was if I had to do all that to get to where I am, like I'd do it again. So
mm,
I think it's just really a testimony to like God works all things together for those who love him. And this is one of those situations where it's like in the moment, especially when sometimes I'd get upset or get mad that I was missing so many things. It was like I didn't realize like what the Lord was doing for me. And now now I'm just very thankful for it. So I think just I learned over the years that it's like I had like that's where like full trust in Jesus comes, is that it's like there are going to be other opportunities. Like there are going to be other
mm,
moments like I can hang out with my friends, like I can go to church, I can do other things. It's not like if I miss one or two or however many hangouts, like that's it, like those are the last ones. Like there's always more opportunities. And sometimes, yeah, we have to make sacrifices in what we want and what we prioritize. But I mean, everyone's doing it, we just might not see it. And so I think just learning to be grateful for kind of where I am in life and what where the Lord has me was has been the biggest thing.
yeah, yeah, thank you for sharing. I know
You're
it
welcome.
sounds like you had a really awesome community back home and you were still able to make your faith a priority while running your sport while working very hard at it.
Mm.
Um, that's great. So now moving into that, I wanted to hear maybe a little bit about how you met Jesus and how you grew in your faith throughout your middle school and high school years. Sounds like you had a great Christian family, but what other influences were there?
Yeah, yeah, so like I said, I grew up in the church. My parents met there, and so I went to Grace Community Church back home. So I've been going there since I was born. But so I don't remember a time not believing in what God did for us, but I don't think I realized what that meant for my life until about middle school age. Um, I don't really have a turning. like one moment in my life that the Lord kind of just um, brought me to Him, but I think mine's more of just a constant, or it was a little bit of a progressive kind of, um, yeah, just it was a progression in my faith.
Mhm.
And like I said, I grew up in playing sports. I was a bit of a hothead on the court, and so I just, whether it was softball, whether it was tennis, everything was kind of um, everything bothered me. It was like I'd win a match and like I still wasn't happy, you know. I'd play a match and I'd hit a good shot and something was wrong with it, you know. So I kind of always had that mentality, and I didn't realize how when you become a Christian, it shapes the way you act and the way you talk and the way you think. And it should completely change that. And for me, that was one thing off the court, but once I got on the court, I kind of lost all of that and lost sight of that. And I got to a point where I was like earlier, I was trying to just fix myself, and I was trying to, I'm like, well, you know, I'm getting mad, so like I can make myself not mad, you know, like there's got to be a way I can do this.
Just do it.
Um, yeah, right? So I kinda got into that mentality and was just kinda spinning just further and further away from the solution essentially, which was kinda giving up my sins and just kinda throwing up my hands to the Lord and being like, "I can't do this without you."
Mm,
And, I think once I realized that, it was like it wasn't necessarily night and day for me, but I just would step onto the court and just know that like, okay, like I have a chance to be a light to those around me. I have a chance to, you know, use this as my way to glorify God.
mhm,
And I can choose to act, you know, in my own way, or I can um, choose to just allow Jesus to come into my life and kind of take over that all. Um,
mm,
and so, yeah, so that was kind of when and how I would say I became a Christian, truly.
mm,
And then, yeah, growing in middle school, again, I got really close. I was really close with a lot of leaders at my Bible study. And then in high school, I got really involved just with the whole high school ministries, both at church and then at my school. Um, and I just loved, yeah, I loved being around my friends. I think I knew that as a Christian, you need to be surrounded with those who are like-minded. And
yeah.
so um, yeah, I would go to church maybe twice, 3 times a week, whether it's for, you know, Sunday services and Bible studies and, you know, whatever else, hanging out with friends who lived out there. So, yeah, I thankfully, I had a really solid group of friends my year, really,
Mm,
um, that just love the Lord, and a lot of them still do, and I still keep in contact with a lot of them. But I think just the fact that, yeah, I loved to go and, um, whether we were talking about the Bible or whether we weren't, I just found joy in being in that community of friends and leaders, and
mhm,
have been lucky enough to have people who have been so intentional in my life and have really sought me out even when I haven't sought them out, or even when I have reached out to them, they've been gracious to respond and love me back. So I think for me, it was just um, a lot of I mean, of course, the Lord kind of kept that fire going in my life, whereas I know a lot of students who didn't. But I had leaders who just didn't, you know, even if I wasn't there on Sundays or Wednesdays, they like made sure I'd get that just that fellowship no matter where I
mm.
was.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're getting close to wrapping up here. I gotta know though, how has your relationship with Jesus changed since beginning college?
Yeah, I think it's definitely changed the most in the fact that I've had to kind of make it my own. Growing up in the church, you hear everything all the time, and so you kind of have, especially in one specific church all the time, you hear, their take on everything, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, I believe a lot of 99% of it.
Yeah.
But I think it's just you have you have to take initiative in your own faith.
Mm.
You're not having parents that are dragging you to church every Sunday. You're not having parents that are, encouraging you to go to Bible study. You're not even having, all right, like here's a Bible study. Here's exactly where it meets. Like at
Yeah.
this time, you kind of have to seek those out, and if you really want it. And my high school pastor back home actually told me, he's like, if you don't find a church within the first few months, he's like, that could be scary. And he's like, I just would encourage you to look for that and find fellowship right away, and not just kind of slack off, because he's like, that's kind of where, things can start to just get harder and harder.
Hmm.
So I found a church when I got here, and just, although I can't go to it a lot because I have practice or, matches on the weekends, I found community within, other students who go there. I mean, for me, I was involved in SEA in high school, so I knew that was something I'd want to pursue or look into in college. And then I ended up, along with FCA, I joined EPIC, which is like an Asian American Christian group, which I've absolutely loved. And I found that through a mutual friend. So I just, I think it's really taught me how, again, to make my faith my own, and
Yeah.
to just know, like, all right, if this is like what I want to do, like I have to choose that.
Yeah. That's good. It's a good word. Now, could you leave us just with any moment of encouragement for our listeners?
Yeah. Yeah, I think going through what I did in the fall, and the Lord kind of helping me overcome that, I kind of thought all of that was over. Um, but I think one thing as a believer is we're always promised trials, and a lot of those trials can be the same thing, even if we think we have kind of finished that area of our life, or kind of the Lord has helped us overcome those sins. And that's not always the case. I think for me, this past month, I kind of dealt with some things mentally, with just the beginning of 2020 was not was not my year, not the start I
Mhm.
wanted or expected to come. But and it kind of led to one thing after another that just kind of broke me down a little bit. Um, but I think one encouraging thing is that, knowing that Jesus conquered our sin, we have a choice to make when we step into each situation. And for a long time, I kind of just thought, when I step on the court, like, my emotions are just how I feel, and I can't change that. But
Mm.
um, because of what God has done for us, like, I have a choice to either act out of joy or act out of fear and
Mm.
in my own sin. And I think um, a big phrase that I've been using the past few weeks is choose joy,
Mm.
because it is a choice. And
Yeah.
the more I let myself kind of fall into my own sin and temptation, the further away I get from my relationship with the Lord. But when I realize, again, what it means to be a believer, I do have a choice, and I can choose to be joyful and um, bring glory to God in how I act in those situations, rather than just letting myself um, kind of fall into what the world, or what feels better or is easier.
Mm.
So I would just say, just don't think that we don't have control over ourselves, because we do. As believers, we know that we do. And it truly, like, has changed my mindset, and has changed just the way that I have, frankly, just enjoyed being on the court and being around my teammates.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I think of the verse in First Corinthians where it says, "No temptation has overcome you except such as is common amongst men. That with the
Yeah.
temptation, God provides a way of escape." So, that's great, Emily. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing and for the encouragement. Hey, do you
Yeah.
mind praying for us? And then
Not at all.
that would be great.
Yeah. Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for Chris and just FCA in general, God. Thank you for the organization that has just felt it made me feel at home. God has given me a community and fellowship up and slow, and just been something to look forward to so often. God, I thank you for Chris and what he's doing. I pray that just through this time we would see your hand and your work in it all. While it's unclear now, God, I just ask that you would bring glory to you, Lord, whether it's through our conversations, whether it's through our actions, or just whatever we do, God, even with as we're with our family more and more, God, I just ask that these relationships would be strengthened and that you would be glorified through that. Lord,
Mhm.
I thank you for your son. I thank you for everything you've done for me and done for just those who believe in you, God. I ask that every day we would grow one step closer to being sanctified, Lord, until we reach heaven. God, I thank you for that hope that we have beyond this earth, that hope that we have beyond whatever we do, whatever sport we play, God, that our identity is in you, Lord. I just
Mhm.
ask that you would continue to make that clear in so many students' lives through this time, God, that their identity is in you,
Mhm.
and that's all that really matters, God. So I just ask that you would bless the rest of this day, and again, thank you for this time that we've had together. In your son's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Emily. Hope
Yeah, of
you
course.
have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Chris. Talk to you later.
Bye, everyone.